You're on the board there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're on seat on the board. Thank you.
But when my parents died and I had to move my mom's, leftovers, it's like, I don't want to do that to my kids. If I get close to dying, I'm just gonna start. on everything. I just don't want my kids have to do it. I had to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. April 21st, 2022, 5:30 p.m. This is the meeting of the Southeast Polk Board of Education. Jeannie, could you get roll call, please?
Chad,
Here.
Lori,
Here.
Bridget,
Here.
Rick,
Here.
Whitney,
Here.
Brett.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. On to the agenda adoption. Dr. Hlupnik, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Second.
All right, Jeannie?
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad.
Yes. Doing a great job, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Would somebody like to read our district vision and mission?
Southeast Polk Community School District will learn, lead, live, success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning, a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
All right, thank you. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On to public comments. Let's start with Jenny Cadle. Please give us your address.
My name is Jenny Cadle, 1128 32nd Street Southeast here in Altoona. How are you guys tonight?
Fine.
So good evening. As Chad just said, I'm Jenny Cadle, and I'm here tonight as a member of the community, a taxpaying homeowner in this district, parent of 4 kids in your schools, and a candidate for Iowa House. I'm here tonight to pose a rhetorical question. What is the role of the school board? Last meeting that I attended, you guys passed a resolution going against a bill that was making its way through the Capitol building. The following statements were said at that meeting. It is our duty as a board to stand up for the financial interests of our district, and children should not be used for the sake of our pocketbooks. The board spent approximately 10 minutes discussing this, everyone giving their opinion and voting on it. Our president spent how long writing the resolution? My point is that time was dedicated to this issue. During the recess of before closed session, I came up and I asked a few of you board members if a resolution was made against the bill attacking transgender youth in our state. And I was told it has not been done. Now, I don't know how many transgender students that go to Southeast Polk, and of them, I don't know how many want to play sports. But if the board is going to start taking positions in our state and dedicating time in our meetings to speaking out against or for laws that are being passed, then we should stand against or all laws. Shouldn't your role be to protect the youth, to advocate for equality and safety in our schools? Isn't each kid worth more than just the $11,000 that we get for them? I ask you to consider these questions and consider allocating some time and energy to this piece of legislation and its impact to our district, as you have with other state legislation. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Jenny Peterson.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Peterson. I live at 1137 9th Street Southeast in Falcon Ridge. And I'm just coming to you tonight as a friend and neighbor to talk briefly about the new school that's going up just east of Samwise. I just want to make sure some things have been considered. You know, I've been here 25 years. My kids are both graduates of the district. That 8th and Falcon intersection is really busy at certain times of the day already. And so with that being the main entrance of the new school, I'm just concerned that every, due thought has been given to that. Primarily, we've got, kids are going to be going to that school from our neighborhood, and how are they going to get across the street? The existing crosswalks are west of Falcon Drive, one closer to or past west of the townhouses, and then another one closer to Dairy Queen. So just making sure that that's being thought of, because of course their safety is paramount in getting to the new school. And people ignore those crosswalks. I've seen it a lot. Also with the intersection of 8th and Northeast 80th, that's been a troublesome intersection for a long time. Lots of accidents. I've seen life light there more than once in the time I've lived here. So I know there's a 4-way stop there now, and I believe there's going to be a stoplight. And I realize some of this is city responsibility too. So I just want to make sure everything's being thought about. Just making sure that, number one, the kids are safe. And number two, we have good traffic flow on 8th Street, because that's our main artery through the city. And just as a voice from the neighborhood and people in that area, that everything's being considered. And thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve this consent agenda items.
Second. And I want to make a comment
Okay.
if I can. I just would like to say, as we see more and more resignations each meeting, that I voice the appreciation to those that are moving on to other careers and other schools. And I want them to know that their work here at Southeast Polk is very much appreciated. So I know we're losing a lot of good staff members, and they will be missed. And I just want them to know that we do appreciate having them teach our students in the past few years, those that are leaving us this year.
Okay, anyone else? All right, Jeannie, can we get the vote?
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right, on to old new business, confirmation of next meeting. Looks like May 5th and May 19th, and then we have two board visits, April 28th and May 12th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Jeannie?
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Okay. SEPEA agreement. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Can I make a comment on that one also? Is that okay?
Sure.
I would just like to say, I so very much wish it could be more money for the staff and what we've put them through. That's all I want to say. It's appreciated, and thank you.
Anyone else have questions, comments?
I have a question. I was part of an email. Was that distributed to the rest of the board with questions that, or fellow board member who's not here? Were those questions? out,
I
or-
don't know for sure.
Okay,
I think he was gonna send it to everybody, but
What,
the email from Tom.
Haven't seen it yet. When did it come?
yesterday?
no,
This afternoon.
Were there any points? you
Well,
wanted
I
to
was
bring
just,
up?
Yeah, a lot of points, yeah.
yeah, and I just had a question about the, and I don't know if this is even the time, but the 5-year contract. And then every year we're revisiting it, is that, I didn't know if that was the most efficacious use of our time to look at it every year, even though it's a 5-year contract. Should we just
It's
make it a
negotiated.
1-year contract?
It is worth looking at every year.
No, I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it. I'm saying is why should we make it a 5-year contract if we're negotiating every year? I didn't know if that was.
I think Mr. Horton will explain it.
Tracy, I'm going to talk for you just a little bit here. If I go out of bounds, you check me out. I know Sepia brought this forward with the idea that what they wanted to not do was do a recertification election every year.
Okay,
And they wanted to push that election out 5 more years, the same way we did it the first time. And it looked like a good idea from both sides of the table.
Mhm.
But that's
Okay.
kind of the method
so
behind it.
that's why.
Why do 5 years and open money every year? So we really have a 5-year contract, but we can negotiate the biggest parts of that contract every year.
Okay, I mean, I only look at 2 things every year, not the process that you went through this year.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So instead of coming to the table with, I think we had 10 things in our
Right.
initial proposal, we would have 2 next
Okay.
year. And Sepia would have 2.
the same 2, right?
Sure. Any other questions?
That was my main question.
thank you
and I
for your
think
work
Tom
on
has-
this.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thanks to Tracy too.
Yes.
And by the way, the union ratified it at 93%. Is that right? 93% vote. So congrats to them as well.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll just echo what Lori said, and I'm excited that we were able to come to an agreement. I mean, looking at where both sides started, it seems like we met in the middle, and we'd always like to do more, and obviously that requires more state funding for us to be able to do that. But we definitely appreciate our educators, and glad that we came to a quick agreement, and now we can move forward. So Jeannie?
Whitney,
Yes,
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
Yes,
Rick.
Yes.
Okay, agreement passes. On to student fees for 22-23.
motion to approve.
Hey, a second?
Second.
Thank you. We talked about this last time, I guess. Are there any questions? Okay. Jeannie?
Brett,
Oh, yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
yes,
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney.
yes,
All right, on to 2022 junior graduates. Can I get a motion?
motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any questions?
One question, do they meet the requirements? I ask this every time.
Yes, all of our kids meet graduation requirements. All have a conversation with either their school counselor or our new college and career transition counselor to kind of talk about what that next plan is. And all of those plans are supported by their families.
All right, Jeannie?
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Bridget,
yes,
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
yes,
Brett.
Yes.
All right, letter E, staffing plan. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Nope,
I
you take-
stepped on Brett. Let him
Nope.
go.
You got it. You got it.
Do you want it, Brett?
Sure. Motion to
Second,
approve the staffing plan for 2022-23 school year. Phases 1 and 2.
All right. Mr. Horton, are you presenting on this one?
Sure. Thank you. What you've got in front of you is a synopsis of both phases 1 and 2. And it should be, if it's not, I think I attached it to this docket item, but if I did not, it's also in the folder I gave you. But it lists kind of what we did in phase 1. And those 3 positions were approved and complete in phase 1 and then moved on to phase 2, which includes 2 teaching positions at the high school for increased overall enrollment that's anticipated. And then we had 3 additional positions. One was, I think I told this story last time we talked, but we formalized a long existing informal agreement with a retiring employee and put it into the contract and back on the schedule as approved, through negotiations as well. Actually, all 3 of these were approved through our contract negotiations. And then the junior high has a need for a PBIS coordinator. And what they figured out is the mock trial position hasn't been filled in maybe as long as I've been in this role. So that'd make it at least 11 years. We've had no one at the junior high. So what they would like to do is make the mock trial position, retitle it the PBIS coordinator, and move forward at no additional cost to the district. And then lastly, we have a newly sanctioned sport, girls wrestling, and we need a coach. And I know there's a lot of buzz, in particular in the state of Iowa, and maybe more in particular here at Southeast Polk, where wrestling has enjoyed so much success. But we need a coach. So for the most part, the total estimated cost of all 5 of these would be $174,275, all of which I ran past Kevin to see if it would pass his financial muster, and he's confident we can afford all the above. But that's what I've got for tonight anyway with phase 2.
Mr. Horton, I know it's too early to tell, but saying this new sport draws a lot of interest. I know Jason's not here, but if there's a need for an assistant coach because of the numbers, is that something we're gonna be able to do if numbers warrant it?
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll have a whole lot of choice.
Right.
Just from student,
Sure.
athlete safety, stuff
Sure.
like that,
Sure.
supervision.
Yep.
Can you point me to where I can find information about the PBIS coordinator position? Maybe a job description or something along those lines?
That's a great question because we don't have one. I think it's someone to put a rope around all things PBIS at the junior high in particular in terms of how we're awarding or rewarding is probably a better word, how we're rewarding students for good behavior.
Mhm.
And there's so much involved, including like the online electronic ticketing, and the tickets are good. They're not like speeding tickets or something, but we've got a ticketing system that needs oversight. We have I think it's monthly PBIS assemblies that need to be taken care of. And currently it's done by, I think it's done by somebody who just said, yeah, I'll do it. But goodwill only lasts, it's short shelf life
Right.
for goodwill. And I understand that. We used to have a running joke at the high school that what's worth doing well is worth doing well for money.
Yeah.
So we do want to pay them something. But that would be the extent of my limited understanding about what this person would do.
So when we get a job description, is it possible for you to send it out?
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Anyone else?
All right, thank you.
Mr. Horton. Jeannie?
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes. All right, on to the public hearing for masonry repairs at the high school. You want me to open this first and you?
Well, let me do a little introduction
Okay.
first. This is on. Phil Parrott is here with Shive Hattery. Shive Hattery is our architect on the masonry project at the high school. We did add within our budget some masonry work around the windows that are kind of cracking at the high school. So this plan specifications are out there for your review. If you have any questions about the project, Mr. Parrott is here to answer those questions for you in this public meeting or outside the public meeting. Here, sorry.
Any questions from the board before we open this public hearing? Okay. All right, it is 5:50 PM. I'll now open the public hearing to receive comments on the masonry repairs at the high school. Board Secretary, have you received any written comments?
I have not.
Is there anyone present wishing to provide comment? All right, seeing none, this public hearing is now closed. It is 5:51 PM. And then I think, do we need a motion for the?
We don't act on this.
Okay.
It's coming after, we'll do it at the next meeting.
Okay. On to the next one then. All right, public hearing for modification of the 2021-22 calendar. In parentheses, snow day. So it is 5:51 PM. I will now open the public hearing to receive comments on the modifications to the 2021-22 calendar. Board Secretary, have you received any written comments?
I have not.
Okay. Is there anyone present wishing to provide comment? All right, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. It is 5:52 PM. On to the letter H, 2021-22 calendar change, snow day. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the recommendation for the 21-22 calendar snow day change.
I'll second it.
We have discussion.
Yes.
I'm in total approve the fact that we're not making the students make up the day. That's great. I kind of spoke out last year when I was talking about school days and being added on as just non-productive. And I feel the same way for our staff. I mean, we're talking one day, and what they've done for us over the past 2.5, 3 years, ever since the pandemic, I guess 2.5 years. And all the extra work, all the extra time they put in. Why we'd make our staff come in. I know the answer is going to be classified. Well, the largest school district in our state on situations like this, what if a classified person wanted the hours, which they're entitled to, would assign them a building and would let them work in a building, a bus driver work in a building, either cleaning lockers or cleaning whiteboards for a day, just to get their hours in so they can get paid, which would help the district. It would help them get their money. But to make the teaching staff and administrators and everybody come back for a day of contract day. Some teachers are going to do it because it's optional. They'll want to come in and do some things, but to make it mandatory after what they've been through the last 2.5 years, it was really hard for me last year when it was 4 days. Now it's only 1 day that we can't ignore. Why are we making our teachers come back? Kids aren't going to be there. I'm against the part where we're making the teachers come back and make it up. What have they done for us the last 2.5 years? All the extra time, all the extra work. A lot of them bought containers for their kids to put their stuff in at the elementary school. And now we can't give them a day back, say thank you as a thank you. I know the classified argument that I gave you my answer towards that, but I'm thrilled that we're not making the students come back, because those days at the very end of the school year when kids have checked out mentally, if I have to get Natalie involved, I will, but I don't want to put her on the spot though. It's just, I feel like we owe it to our teachers not to make them come back. I might be in the minority, but I wanted to give you my feelings.
Rick, I'll echo some of your comments, not all of them. I'll echo a few that, and I'll just leave it at the fact that Citizens of the Year, why not give them an extra day?
There you go.
There you go. I think they're deserving of it.
So I would have to agree. These teachers have worked really hard and they put in a lot of, if you take into account all the extra time they put in, I mean, we owe them some days, and I do think it's a waste of a day for them. And many of our teachers are parents, and whether they're in our school district or not, they sure as heck don't want to cut their vacation short to come back for one day. When we're bringing that into consideration for our students, we should probably do the same thing for parent teachers.
I will make one side on the district side. Obviously, it's a contractual issue, and that's one of the things that we just negotiated with the union. So, I still stand by my words that Citizens of the Year should get that free day. But it is a contractual thing that we have to abide by. And obviously the union has decided not to do anything with that. So, I mean, that's kind of something the union's going to have to fight, and we may have to live with, but Citizens of the Year, just in case you didn't hear me.
One more time.
Yeah, just in case you didn't hear me.
There you go.
I guess that's a good question. What are the contractual
I believe
implications
it
of
would
that?
take a memorandum of understanding between CPA and the district to modify the contract, the way I understand it.
Yes.
Can we do that in this time frame?
Sure.
Voice of reasoning coming up here.
She's on soundtrack. Come on.
And I agree with everything that you've said. Past 2 years have been really stressful, and we get to the end of the year. But there are things that happen for the school year that go on, and we bring people in and pay at a contract $25 an hour, which is less than their per diem rate that need to be done during the summer. And having this additional day of learning would allow some of those things to happen while they're on contract time. And not have to come in later in the summer. One of the things we'd like to do is do a textbook inventory where we get all of the textbook materials out of desks, out of closets, out of cabinets, and count them because we do have ESSER funds that are available to recoup any books that we lost during the pandemic. And so this is the year that we need to do that. And we could have associates come in, as Rick mentioned, and help with some of the counting and tallying of that. So if we have to order new materials, those would be recovered with the federal funds that we've received. So there are many things that happen during the summer with curriculum writing and professional learning that have to happen, whether it happens on our day of learning as a contract day or teachers come in later during the summer to get it done. I think a lot of them like to get it done so they can have the rest of the summer to relax and enjoy. So I agree with everything you said, but the work never ends. And there'll be plenty of productive things to do that day that they will feel good about having done and off their plate before the school year starts next year. And then we'll have plenty of materials for all of our students. So I just wanted to add that in.
Why are you looking directly at me?
Looking good. I just wanted to say Citizens a Year
just
one
gave you a
more
hard
time, Brett. So this is line of sight. Right now.
No, I'm.
Nobody wants to look at me, Brett. Sorry.
And I felt like my
Everybody
mother
look at
staring.
Rick.
No. I still think teachers can have the option of coming in like they always do. But I think they need a reward. We're way past, last year was a different circumstance with 4 days. This is only 1 day. Teachers, like Dr. Latham said, have a lot to do, but they'll either can come in on an optional day or they'll find time. Teachers always do.
Is this an item we can table? Obviously, I think it will take more than an amendment to make the change due to the contractual obligations, but I don't know what the next steps would be if we want to explore it further.
If that's the direction that the board like to head, that's fine. I would recommend that you amend the motion and at least handle the student side so that doesn't hang out there, because there's a lot of people that have that question.
Sure. Okay.
Who needs to amend that?
Who made the motion?
Well, there was no, I guess
Oh.
Rick introduced the topic.
Yeah, but I think that came
Lori
after.
made the motion.
There was a
Brett
motion and a
seconded.
second, then
Okay.
I asked for discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll change my second.
I don't know if I want to I don't want to change the motion. We still have to pay for it. It's a day we have to pay for. So we should have them work. And
Question, we already have speakers lined up, I'm assuming. Is that kind of what Joellen was getting to, and then other costs that go into it?
We have about 25 hours of things planned for a 6.5-hour day, so we have, we'll narrow it down. But yeah, we do have some opportunities planned to go and learning / work day.
Well, and I guess just since we're talking about it, maybe since things are already in motion this year, let the motion, maybe the motion should ride as it is. We can vote on that. And then we can always make it up to the staff and within the next year. I think we're going to be in the same boat maybe next year with some snow days or something. So
or hail days.
maybe that's something the union and administration can work out in between to figure out if they want to do something with obviously we've already approved the 5-year contract. So maybe next year they want to discuss maybe their hours or something. That's up to them, but
that's a good point, Brett. But this year the elementary staff had to deal with it for the whole first semester. The whole district is, even though the pandemic is luckily, knock on wood, slowing down and things are getting back to normal, the further you push out the reward, it's kind of like, why am I getting this reward? I mean, we need to reward them now. I mean, I felt like we needed to reward them last year, but I'm just speaking.
So we
Yeah.
could vote on it and then have another motion.
Yeah, but
If the vote.
the hard way is,
pass, correct?
it's hard to vote when you're voting yes to part of it, but you feel no to the other part. I mean, it's which way do I go? I mean, it's.
well, I think,
Yeah.
like Dirk said, if Lori wanted to amend,
But she doesn't. So.
I don't want
No.
to amend the motion.
So
We,
depending on the vote.
we have
could
to
a new
still
motion.
pay, we still have to pay for the staff. And so what Joellen is saying is they're gonna get some of the work done that they would normally have to pay $25 an hour for the staff to come in for. So they can get some of that accomplished on that day that we're paying out regardless. It's not like the district is gonna save that money. We're spending that money. So they need to be there accomplishing that work. That part of it needs to get done anyway before we have to spend $25 an hour additional, which will cost us more if we say everybody doesn't come in this day and inventory books or whatever. So it's just gonna cost us more money to do that.
I guess it's the message you want to send.
But it's not the message I want to send. But we still have to be fiscally responsible. So I appreciate every teacher and us having the teachers come in on the contracted workday is not appreciating the staff. I do very much. And I hope they all know that.
yeah, I think it would be a staff direction as the board that we want to do something for the staff. Maybe just this year isn't the day to do it, but I mean, I'm obviously open for doing something for them because they are citizens of the year, so. But,
I agree with the logic and the sentiment that, you know, of giving the teachers that day back. It sounds to me though, listening to some of the, Joelle has shared, like there's already plans in motion. And I also wonder about the teachers, what they would prefer, if we ask them, you know, I guess I don't know, I would like them to feel more appreciated, but I also think, you know, I had conversations with a couple of people before this, and I thought, why would a teacher want to come back after the long weekend, you know, logically? But there are things that they want to get done when the kids aren't there too, so, and just get that done before they release for the summer. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Sorry to interrupt, but want to be clear, they're coming back already for one day
Oh,
after the
yeah.
weekend by contract.
Oh.
The teacher work
So
day
this would
is the 31st.
So this would be the first then,
Then be putting it into June, yeah.
right?
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification.
yeah, so I think it's out of our hands this year because it is a contractual thing. So I think we'll let the union and administration kind of work it out for next year or however if they want to do it. If the teachers are, I'm sure if you ask the teachers what they want to do, I'm sure they're going to say they don't want to go to work another day. I would be the one being like, heck no, I'm not going to work another day if you give me an option. But so yes, definitely want to reward them somehow, but maybe this isn't the right timing. So I'll call the question if there's no other comments.
So is the 31st a work day? Is it a work learning day as well? And then the first would be the second work learning day?
The first would be a work day, meaning that as district administrators, we would have no teachers would decide what that day looks like.
Okay.
100%. The learning work day would probably be about a 50-50. We'd have some district projects that we need to get done related to curriculum, leader and me, other things, and then the other 50% of the day could be in teams, things that they need to do. And I will just say, as a teacher, I agree, the year gets down and people are exhausted, but it's amazing how much you can get accomplished when the kids are home and you're at work. So the learning work day would be about a 50-50, and the work day is 100% what teachers decide to do.
I'll call the question since I don't hear anything else.
Jeannie?
Bridget,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes to the students.
Whitney,
No.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
On to district auction. Gary, is there anything you want to say about that?
Good evening, board members. We're working diligently on preparing for this auction at this time. We do have a couple pickups with snow blades. We do have now 2 buses that have been added. And then the normal things that we've had each year that we have these auctions as far as surplus and unwanted items. Going with BD Auctions again. Jim Beatty's done a lot of our fundraising auctions at no charge throughout the district for a lot of years. He'll be actually hiring or employing other auctioneers to help him out also, like he's done in the past as well. We're getting flyers put together. I've got some information, pictures and details of what those items are. And we'll get those advertisements ready to go to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
You won't be there.
I can't wait to see what goes.
All right, Jeannie, can we get a vote?
Rick,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
All right, that ends our business portion of the meeting. On to topics for discussion. Superintendent report.
Right, let's start with some good news. And as Brett has told us, the Altoona Area Chamber of Commerce, we know, named.
Oh, did I ruin that?
Employees
Ruin that for you?
We could all sing to it.
It's weeks old. It's weeks old. That's one of
Okay,
the
all
things,
right.
when you only have one meeting in March, it's been almost a month and a half since my last update. So, but I know that is something that all of the Southeast Polk family is very proud of. And I think we've joked, but it is something we're extremely proud of. I also wanted to recognize the Rhythmettes national champions 5 times. Again, that's not something that just happens, an incredible amount of hard work. Another thing that we're very proud of.
Oh,
No.
it's been a while.
It's been on. We had the opportunity to participate in the 6-7 building groundbreaking. Excavation site work is moving along, and that's what you're going to see for the first couple of months here. It's just a lot of dirt moving around, and you had a chance to be up close and personal with some of those machines doing the work. So since our last meeting, we've had the Bill Birch Scholarship and Recognition Breakfast. Again, something that celebrates what we're all about. And it's always a great morning to see the pride in the faces of the students and the adults that are part of that. We had a Willowbrook board visit. Altoona is next Thursday morning, and then we finish on May 12th, as Chad said earlier, with our 11th out of 11 building visits. So we'll hit them all this year by May 12th. So those are always fun mornings. Look forward to that. And then one more thing. This year, we did receive the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. Once again, the Association of School Business Officials International recognized Mr. Bacom and his department for the FY21 Comprehensive Financial Report. Participation in the program is a testament to the district's commitment to transparency and high quality financial reporting. That's their quote, not mine. So not that I don't believe it. I just didn't want you to think I was tooting our own horn here. So, and to quote Kevin, this is the 253rd year in a row.
Correct.
But it is several years in a row, and that's something to be proud of. One final thing I just want to mention, because there have been some questions out there dealing with the staff retention payment. More than half of our employees do not qualify for the governor's retention payments that were dispersed by law last month. And we've talked about a plan to make sure that those employees would also receive payment. There's been some talk about the legislature potentially addressing this issue. And as the session moves on and kind of at a standstill, it's not clear whether this will end up being a priority or not. We'll continue to watch what happens, and then we'll bring forward a plan to the board as soon as it's clear what the legislature is going to or not going to do. So that is still 100% on the table. We're just waiting to make sure that we don't act before the legislature may set some rules for us. So just want to finish with that. And then you've got kind of a summary of my meetings and things there, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, on to monthly financials. Mr. Bacon.
Good evening, board. These are financials for the month of March. Real quickly, general fund revenues are up 2.8%. Expenditures are up 3.6%. I'm getting curious about our income surtax payment, our second payment. As you can see there in the financials, we're about $500,000 behind those payments this year. So I'm not sure if that's being held by Polk County or not, but we're trying to get to the bottom of that. Increased breakdown insurance reimbursements coming from both technology department and the buildings and grounds department. So that's good for us. Utilities have they're still up about 10%, but that means probably that we've had less days of heating through this period of time last year, but they are up. One of the biggest areas we have right now, we're spending quite a considerable amount of money on our mechanic services. We just can't keep up with repairs in the transportation department. So we've had to go out and hire a couple of different vendors to bring mechanics on site at a much higher rate than typically are. So that's one of the things. On a positive news, interest rates, Ms. Slings, you might be able to attest, they are starting to climb from an investment standpoint. So we'll probably be going out to see who might want to invest some of our monies, maybe adding a depository here or there within the area to try to get our best rates out there. As far as all funds, revenues are up 6.2%, expenditures up 25.3%. That's mostly due to the facilities constructions we're having. You can see statewide dollars, statewide penny dollars in the saved funds are up considerably, almost a 25% or so, I think is what it was. So that's a good thing. I think part of that is how we are getting paid now by the state. So it's not in arrears. It's not based on projected estimates. It's actually based on actual dollars, which is good. And then capital projects, the line that I've talked about there, facilities acquisition. We're spending about $15.2 million we did last year, as you can see across the district, what we're doing. Any questions regarding the financials?
Congratulations on
Thank you.
the fine words and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Try harder.
Thank you.
Good work, Kevin.
Thank you.
That was Lori Slings.
Okay, on to April 15th, professional learning.
Good evening, board. Sorry. I wanted to share with you an update related to our professional learning that we had a week ago tomorrow on April 15th. What was one of our designated days for professional development at the district level. On that day, we were able to secure Trevor Reagan. Trevor Reagan is the head of the Learner Lab. And he does a lot of work with the science of learning. You may have heard of him. He's an international speaker. Prior to being the Learner Lab, he has had a company called Train Ugly. He's worked with Duke University, PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, has worked all across the world, and is from Wyoming and decided last December to settle in the state of Iowa. And he does not recommend moving in Iowa in December. It was very snowy and cold, but he lives in Des Moines. And by great luck, we were able to secure him for our day of professional learning last Friday. And we had a really, really good day of learning. So again, as I said, he does a lot of work with the science of learning and what that looks like. So of course, we learned about tigers. That was our topic that we had during the day. So he talks a lot about the zoo tiger and the jungle tiger. And, you know, the zoo tiger has a pretty comfy life. I'm always sad to see them in their cages, where they're fed every day and they're taken care of, et cetera. Where the jungle tiger needs to learn to be aware of its surroundings, find its food, et cetera. And so in the science of learning, the tiger that learns more is the jungle tiger. So he encouraged us to be jungle tigers. And that's the basic premise, that the tiger living in the jungle is going to learn and develop more than the tiger living in the zoo. We can get real comfortable in our comfort zone and really kind of get stagnant and not learn and not grow. And so the big idea is that in order to learn and grow, we need to spend a little bit more time out of our comfort zone. Doesn't mean we go live there permanently, because there are times where we're a zoo tiger and there's times that we're a jungle tiger. And so thinking about how to support that as teachers. So in the zoo tiger, that's our comfort zone, and we look pretty good there. It's easy and it's safe. But outside of our comfort zone, we will face problems and challenges, obstacles and change. And I think we've all been jungle tigers for the last 2 years. And it's been uncomfortable, and there's been a lot of problems and challenges and obstacles, but we've grown through that as well. So we've learned a lot and we grew a lot. And the learning happens in the wild. And he talked a lot about productive struggle. So he said it isn't just good to have struggle. He is going to say it's necessary. In order to learn and grow, there has to be a little bit of struggle. And as educators and people in the community, you know, we're there to help and support, but stand back a little bit and let that struggle happen so we come out on the other side having learned from that experience. So he introduced something called, because he said we acronym everything in education, so he did too. He calls it the SFCOHTGGAS. The self-fulfilling cycle of how to get good at stuff. So very, very scientific. But really working within that cycle between belief, actions, and growth, and how they are connected to each other. So if we believe that we can do something, that increases the likelihood that we'll take action on it. Nothing changes unless we take action. So I can believe that I can go out and run that half marathon, but if I don't ever get up and run, if I don't take action, it's not going to happen. And that's where we learn best, is in the actual action or behavior. And then the growth that we make, that impacts both our belief and our action. Like, oh, I can run a mile without hyperventilating. So then you think, oh, I'm going to try that and go a little bit further and stretch myself out even a little bit further. So that was the cycle that he talked about. Very well received by the staff. He talked about the different outcomes of our beliefs about learning. He did talk about that fancy word of neuroplasticity, but the idea that our brain is an organ that was designed to grow and stretch. And so to really take advantage of what it is designed to do, reframing that fear that we have and talking about psychological safety. And I think fear has driven a lot of our concerns over the last 2 years because it was so unknown, things that we hadn't encountered before, and we were out of our comfort zone in a big way. But he talked about dancing with that fear, not trying to think that it's never going to be there, but how do we live with it, cope with it, and make it work in our favor. And then the learning zone, building resilience, and then taking action, making a plan to take and sustain that action over time. So it was a very good day of learning, debriefed with the principals and some of the teacher teams, and a lot of the things connect to the initiatives we've been working on. He talks a lot about this not being a separate initiative, but things that we wrap around what we're doing. I know Whitney was able to join us. I don't like to put her on the spot, but I didn't know if you had any reflections that you wanted to share from that day.
You know, I was very impressed. I like the fact that he's local and that we have more access to him. And so we can bring him into other aspects of our district, whether it's, you know, the Mets or the football team, or, you know, and just knowing that he's worked with so many high caliber sports teams and that he's kind of excited about working with, you know, high school teams. I think that'd be really, really cool. And he is not just a guy who talks about stuff. He really does his research. He puts his ideas into action. And I think his ideas are great. And the neuroplasticity, when he said that you can learn at any age, you know, and you don't have to be the best, but, you know, being able to just learn is really good. And just knowing that the teachers, I was watching the teachers' reactions, and they just really seem to get excited about that. And knowing that we can do that for our students and for our children, and saying, you can do this. Let's figure out how. So.
Yeah. It was a great day. I agree. The teachers were very responsive. Our teachers are always wonderful and professional learning, but I think they felt both validated and encouraged to step out. I was in a classroom that was preparing for the state assessments next week, and it said, meet your amygdala, that part of your brain, because that's what he had talked
lizard
about.
brain, yeah.
Your lizard brain. And I thought, okay, well, we probably wouldn't have heard that without the PD. So it was a good day of learning. It was kind of good for the teaching soul. And some of our staff did have conversations. His brother is the volleyball coach at Grinnell. And so he was more than willing to follow up with people and stop on his way and provide help and support. So it was a very, very good day for us here.
I do have to point out something about you specifically. I'm very impressed with how you can find resources out there and just bring in things that aren't common. And additionally, I thought it was great that you pointed out that it's the day that Titanic sank, and it was tax day and also a teacher's birthday. So that was just bring it all together.
So I said, what better lead up could a speaker have than that? That, you know, tax day, the day the Titanic sank. Yeah. So
there you go.
Great introduction. Yes. But it is wonderful to make those connections and we went to hear him a few years ago, a number of teams, and at that time he didn't live in Iowa, so I got pretty excited when I found out he was now here in our fair state.
And one of your building principals is stalking him and was so excited. He was like all giddy to go in. So
Yes.
good job.
Yes, and we had people fighting for the front row too, to see who could be there. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Are you doing the math update?
I had given Jason a longer time. So I'm going to stay up here because our next agenda item, I think about a month or maybe 6 weeks ago, we had a literacy update. So wanted to continue some of our academic updates as we slowly and surely return to normal. And so tonight, I'm very happy to have our pre-K-12 math coordinator here, Jane Beecham, who is going to share with you some of the things that are happening in math across the district. So I'm going to turn over to Jane.
Thank you for letting me speak today about all the good things happening in math. So we're going to discuss the role of the math coordinator in our district. We're going to look at some data and then district support that we provide in the area of math, pre-K-12. So I love this quote because our students come to us with so many gifts and talents. So it's our job to tap into those talents and to foster that to help our students grow in their learning from wherever they are. So my role as a math coordinator is to coordinate program work. So I typically work with teachers, teacher leader teams, principals, and other coordinators in our district and coordinators in neighboring districts. So it's to provide support and information to staff regarding best practices around the Iowa core, lead and facilitate collaborative work with our pre-K-12 PLCs in classrooms and buildings, and then design and present professional development around best practices. Some other responsibilities include analyzing the district data to make instructional decisions, supporting math programs that we offer here, writing grants with teachers for math support, and serving on district committees. So first, we're going to look at some district math data. And I think it's so important to look at data because there's always things we see that we can celebrate, and also wanting to be continuously improving in our craft for our students. So K-5 math, pre-K-5 math is primarily around number sense, comparing numbers, quantities of numbers, helping kids be flexible and fluent in their math facts. And an assessment we used for this is our A-Math. We have a reading for the reading portion, and A-Math mirrors that. It's a nationally normed adaptive assessment. And it's a screener we give 3 times a year. And these are our scores after a 2-year pandemic. So we were very excited to see the students retained as much as they did and continue to grow during the pandemic. You'll notice that all our scores exceed the state average, and we're looking to see them grow even more in the spring.
So saying it's an adaptive assessment, does that mean that as you take it, it may give you harder or easier questions depending on how you do?
Each student gets 30 questions. If they get it right, it gives them a more challenging one.
Okay.
So I have a question too. Chad, thanks for starting with the questions. The nationally normed. So can you explain that?
So some of our assessments are like Iowa assessments that was developed by the state of Iowa. Some of our district assessments, we use items from our curriculum materials. This assessment is one that's given across many states. So we have students with IEPs who use it for progress monitoring to see their growth. So this isn't just compared to students in Iowa, this is compared to students all across the United States who give this assessment.
I'm kind of curious what it would look like if we compared it against students in Iowa, just because we do have a different methodology here in Iowa for the way that we.
So the one in the white, the first column where it says fall state, that's just the state of Iowa.
Okay.
So that's how students in the state of Iowa performed in the fall. And then in the yellow or the gold column, that's how our Southeast Polk students perform in the fall.
Okay.
So the national norm part is benchmark. That determines what's benchmark. And then this is how many, the percentage of students in the state of Iowa who met benchmark
Mhm.
based on the national norms. And this is how many, what percentage of students at Southeast Polk
Okay, thank you.
met benchmark.
Have we looked at that against national or numbers or other states? Just out of curiosity.
I think, there used to be that the Iowa test of basic skills, we could get both national norms and state norms, but now that everybody's gone to their own state assessment, I would guess that maybe ACT and NAEP would probably be the two that we now can get a look at. And even when we look at it from the state perspective, it's a very large pool of data because it's a random sample.
So since you brought up the ACTs, is that still going to be a standard, do you think, in the near future for entrance to college?
For right now, it isn't. I know that those colleges are doing a study to see how students do, to see if it returns, but Mr. Pettit and I have visited, and we see that it does not hold the credibility that it once did in terms of absolutely having to have that too.
Okay.
There are a lot of schools that it's ACT optional.
Right.
So they use entrance and even scholarship levels based off of the other data, which is primarily GPA.
Right.
I've actually had conversations with Iowa State on kind of some of their, here's the number for this $3,000 scholarship with the GPA, and here's the number with ACTs. And I'm not sure if that's all in line yet.
Mhm.
They also look at like the total number of core area classes you've taken. So they're looking at other measures other
Right.
than the ACT.
So they're getting a whole picture.
Right. Well, they're trying to.
Or trying to.
I don't know if the ACT is ever going to come back in the same way that it was.
Mhm.
Because what I think I'm seeing is kids that are going to college without the ACT are having just the same likelihood of success than the kids without.
Right. Which kind of brings me to maybe there's a standard with the state government, but is there a real necessity for us to kind of benchmark what we're doing off of the ACT or SAT for those of us who aren't middle of the country?
And we really just look at that as an additional data point because
Okay.
not all of our students take the ACT.
Okay.
And so when we look at some of the data points that Jane is sharing, all of our students do take that. So we can make better local decisions as to what that looks like, where we have maybe 65% take the ACT. And then we would just continue to look at that and make broad decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cunningham. So at the secondary level, and in our district, we consider secondary 6th grade on up. The focus is on application of their math skills, and an assessment tool that we use for application is our Iowa State Assessment, ISAS. And again, this is 2 years. So they didn't take it in 2020 because of the pandemic. So we took it again in 2021. So after 2 years, these are our scores. And you can see again, in 8 of the 9 categories, we exceeded the state proficiency level. So that's exciting to see. And while we exceeded the state norms, our goal is to get all students to college and career ready. So we do have some action steps when we're looking at our data.
What happened in 10th grade? It looks like overall, it just dropped to statewide and here in Southeast Polk. Is there a reason for that?
We looked at some of that data and worked with some of our students. It was on the tail of the COVID year, and it did seem to impact some of our older students more than our younger students. As Jane said, that's only the second time we've given the assessment. So we'll look at that data again this year to see if we can draw some more specific conclusions. I know at the high school, they have put their MTSS structure in place as a result, as well as some of the academic support things in response to the data.
So our sophomores, sophomores that take this in 2021, they were 9th grade when the pandemic hit. The last portion of 9th grade, most kids were in algebra. So they missed a lot of that algebra piece. The kids that were in 8th grade going into algebra missed that last part of pre-algebra. So the gap in what they missed is really critical math time.
Okay.
There's not as much maybe repetition as maybe in some of our elementary grades. It really starts a lot of new learning in algebra and new learning in geometry and new learning in algebra 2. And I think that missing out of the last quarter of that year was something that probably led to the statewide dip, not just our results.
I just appreciate having the story behind it. I think that's great to know.
Also, we have four 612 collaboration days where we meet as a 612 math department. And we did vertical alignment, looking at item banks from ISASP and making sure that our assessments and our instruction is at the right rigor level. And so we'll continue to look at those and monitor to make sure that our students are getting everything they need. So these are some other action steps we took. Increasing the frequency of number sense routines for K-5, because that number sense is critical as we move through our math learning. Incorporating just-in-time instruction to accelerate and not just remediate math learning. Focusing on best practices, using multi-tiered systems of support for all learners, not just scaffolds, but also enrichment. We pride ourselves in math to make sure we're extending learning for those students, so all students are moving forward in their learning. Professional development around high impact strategies, and then analyzing the data to look for gaps, omissions, and overlaps to make sure everything's aligned. So one of the programs that we offer at Southeast Polk is Title I Math, and this is a federally funded program. And the selection is based on free and reduced lunch numbers. And currently we're able to serve 4 elementary buildings in our district. So this provides an additional teacher for on top of instruction where students can have math in a pull-out situation. So those students are selected based on multiple data points and the groups are fluid. So far this year, we've been able to serve over 200 students in small group instruction with our Title I math teachers that we wouldn't have had the opportunity without this program. So it's been very successful. Another program that we offer at all our buildings, K-12, is Newcomer Math. So we have many students who come to us who are emergent bilinguals, and 90% of our new EL students, they go into the regular math classroom, no problems. But sometimes we get students who come from areas with sporadic or interrupted instruction, and they haven't had instruction for a few years. So then they would go into our Newcomer Math program and get instructional gaps filled. And as soon as they're back at their grade level, then the EL math is phased out and they just take regular math. At the high school, a lot of the students will audit the class until they're at that grade level 2. So they get that background information.
So I understand the population for this group, but you said the tier 1 math was free and reduced lunch participants. Right.
Well, it's for all students who are in our buildings that have the highest number of free and reduced lunches. So every student in that
every
building
student's
qualifies.
good.
Yeah. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
In those 4 buildings.
Yeah, the building eligibility is decided that way, but all students have access to this.
And if you had a student in a building that wasn't, the building wasn't eligible, could they go to, I know logistically and all that, but is it possible for them to go to that building for those services?
We still get the additional services, we just don't have as many staff to offer it. So they still get the on top of instruction and
Okay.
small groups that might be after school.
Okay.
It might be before schools for those.
But they still have that opportunity. Thank you.
And then also with the Newcomer Math, we see growth of 1 to 3 years per year for students who are in this program. So our teachers are rock stars. They're amazing. And it's such a successful program that it continues to grow each year, and we're continuing amazed by the success of the program. And that's a kudos to the teachers who are teaching them. So one thing about Southeast Polk is we like to do things collaboratively. We're a PLC community, and the structure in all our buildings is very similar in the principals building PLC collaboration time and MTSS time for our students. So that's critical with our schedule setup so that students can have multiple opportunities for differentiation. The structure differs by building, but the schedules are designed to meet the same needs of the students. And principals, teacher teams, instructional coaches analyze data to determine next steps for students on an individualized basis. We have teacher teams designing high impact strategies aligned to student needs. And then principals and leadership teams look at their school improvement goals and meet with coordinators to decide next steps for professional learning based on student needs in their building. So that's all buildings. And I'm going to go through the support, the level of support at each of our levels. So what it looks like. So when we're talking about looking at data by student, by standard, we're looking at every individual student and what skills are performing at and how we can move them forward in their learning. So the first 4 bullets, you'll see the same for all our levels pre-K-12. So all our classrooms provide a strong core instruction. And I've loved hearing all the positive comments you're saying about the teachers because we have the most amazing teachers at Southeast Polk. And they do these first 4 things in all their classes. So they're providing a strong core for students. They're doing small group intervention within their classes. They're differentiating based on the levels of proficiency to scaffold and enrich. And then we also are providing win time, which is what I need now. So if in the current unit of study, if students are excelling in an area or struggling in an area, they can meet those needs immediately. And then we also have MTSS time, and that's usually a year-long goal, such as for K-5, it would be number sense and fluency, usually for a year-long goal for those groups. We offer Title I math in 4 of our buildings, EL Newcomer Math in every building. It's available in every building where we have students who qualify, tag enrichment groups in every building, and summer school. At Spring Creek, the first 4 are the same. We also have Math Lab, which is a teacher who works with on top of instruction for students. So they go to their gen ed math teacher, and then for kids who identify with multiple data points, then they also get on top of instruction with her. We have EL Newcomer Math there also, tag enrichment, after school, and Saturday school. Junior high, the same first 4. Their Math Lab support, they enroll students by semester based on previous learning. And then their support Flex Math is current learning, so whatever unit of study they're in now. And then they also offer accelerated math starting at the junior high, EL Newcomer Math, and then after school, Saturday sport, and summer school. So it's exciting to see all the support our students have in the area of math. And then high school, the same first 4, providing that strong core instruction, MTSS. They also have study hall math tutor, where students can go or teachers can recommend. They have academic support lab for 9th and 10th graders. Algebra lab is an extended on top of time. Edgenuity, credit recovery, Harbor, EL Newcomer Math, multiple math pathways for core and advanced, and college courses, GMAC AP classes, after school and Saturday school. So at Southeast Polk, we always say students first, and the teachers walk the talk. You know, they walk the walk. They're amazing. I cannot ever imagine ever leaving Southeast Polk because of the climate here and the teachers and how everybody works together and pulls together to do what's best for students. And so I love this quote by Helen Keller, where she says, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." And I feel like that's the Southeast Polk way. So then, do you have other questions for me?
I'm really impressed by all the levels of support and how we can really personalize it down to what an individual student needs. You know, a lot of them you get with that core instruction, but then if that doesn't work, then there's the next thing and the next thing, and at every grade level. So it's pretty impressive that we're able to do all of that. Are there any particular problem areas? I know we looked at the ISAS little dip there for 10th grade, but are there problem areas, or like with, I guess with like, you know, ELA kind of stuff, like reading, there are certain grade levels that are really key, like 3rd grade reading. Is there something like that with math?
Well, usually for math, 3rd grade is key because that's when we're first learning multiplication division. And then Algebra 1 is the gateway to success. So that's why the high school provides so much support in the area of algebra. They have the algebra lab, they have the math tutor, they have the math study hall. So those are the two.
It's like 3rd and 9th grade
Yeah.
are kind of the key.
Mhm.
So it sounds like those are key points for everything, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any particular areas of challenge then? Is it really just like kind of learning the basics of multiplication and stuff, and then algebra?
I
or-
think every grade level has challenges. I told John, if you asked me, I would say, I want another math interventionist at every building. That's my wish list.
What say
I
you,
ask for it
Kevin?
Every year.
How many math coordinators do we have? One. You're doing all of that or making sure all that's getting done.
The teachers are doing it. I'm helping them coordinate it, and I'm a level of support for teachers and coaches and principals. But #1 indicator of student success is classroom teacher.
I think one thing over time that Jane has done such a nice job supporting is that, you'll notice things in the data. And for a while there, we had some really good math fact fluency, but then our problem solving dropped off a little bit. And then, so we really invested in the math problem solving. And then we noticed the fluency dropped off a little bit. And she really attends to the data. And so we're able to look at the data and see where those balances might be tipping a little bit, and then provide that additional support where it's needed. So that for me Jane had been here for me to come in and watch that over time. It's been very supportive and very responsive to the needs of the students.
And I would say a strength that I bring is I've taught at the elementary level, I've taught at middle school level, I've taught at the high school level. So I'm very cognizant of the vertical alignment, and I've studied the Iowa Core and make sure that we're aligned with that. And so like when you're in the classroom, you're just busy teaching. You're busy teaching your 150 students or your 21st students, however many you have that year, and meeting all their individual needs. So my job is to keep current on all the research and all the latest best practices and finding resources. If I see fractions are low in 4th grade, we need more resources in 4th grade. If I see there's an alignment problem for this grade level, we need to adjust our pacing guide. We need to give more time for that unit of study. So we look at those with teacher teams in the summer to make sure if there are areas where students are struggling, we make sure that we adjust our pacing guide, or we look for better instructional practices for that grade level.
And do you get to make adjustments throughout the school year as well?
We do not. We could, but I always tell teachers, live with it for a year and we make adjustments in the summer. Because if everybody just starts making adjustments, then we don't know what's working and what's not. So we have teacher teams come together, typically at the secondary level, 6th grade, high school, everybody who teaches that course comes to that. Comes to summer curriculum work. At the elementary level, we'll have about 5 teachers per grade level from 5 different buildings, make those adjustments. And all year long, teachers have a form they fill out and they give feedback throughout the year. So on our curriculum page, there's a feedback form. So we have the teacher teams who meet, go through all the feedback that the teachers gave throughout the year. And if there's something big, like this year, we had 2 teachers in 3rd grade who said, we want to do fraction unit after we do measurement. So in the summer, a team of 5 wouldn't make that decision. So then I sent out a form to all 3rd grade teachers and they got to vote on what they thought was. And then 73% said, yes, that would be a good change. So then we'll make that change for next year.
We do make instructional adjustments all the time, but unit adjustments, as Jane said, we do once a year. That's during the
And you
summer.
do adjust for each student's needs
Right,
and
yeah,
from what you
right.
said throughout the year. So, yeah,
These are the unit adjustments that we make for the pacing guides. Yeah.
thank you.
And there's always exceptions if there's an error, or something, but typically we do it during sustained work time in the summer. And thank you for always letting us work in the summer.
Any other questions?
There's not many people who can get on the floor and do manipulatives with kindergarten students and then teach calculus. So Jane has done all that.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, final item here, the IASB board workshop review.
This is just time set aside for the board to debrief, talk about the learning that morning in whatever way you want to, and maybe where we're headed next.
Well, I just thought it was awesome that we did it. And so I'd like to see more of it. It was a really cool thing to do. So thank you for making that happen, Chad.
Any other thoughts?
I appreciate the opportunity as well, and hope that we do it more frequently. I think it was really productive. It was really good team building. It was nice to have us all together and kind of focus on things in a different way.
Do it again. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it was great that we had everybody there. I felt like we were able to cover some good topics. Obviously, in a short period of time, it's still pretty high level, but like from a team building cohesive standpoint, I think it was a great benefit. I think that Luann, or Lou, as we should call her now, from IASB did a great job facilitating it and kind of making it interactive with some scenarios that we walked through. And I think it seemed like everybody took something away from it, maybe in some way clarified our role and responsibility in leading the district. And yeah, so I really liked it. I think some of the other topics that we had kind of as next steps with self-assessment and some operating practices and stuff that could help us to do an even better job. Obviously, the better leadership we can provide from our standpoint, that helps Dirk over here and the administration and all the way down. So I think it's important that just like our staff has professional development days, I think it's important for us to do that too.
And I think the challenge at the end of making us a better boardsmanship board would be a good idea, and especially having our superintendent get up on the stage during the next conference. And just as an aside, the self-assessment counts for points. So we get points for the workshop that we had, and then the self-assessment's additional points, just in case you want to try that out there. And, it'll be good for Dr. Lautner.
I'd like to request that Karen make pecan caramel rolls every time.
Karen never made them.
You
Oh,
did?
no.
Oh, I thought you
Yes.
said that she had. Well, Rick,
That needs to be put onto the agenda.
this is a permanent feature of our workshops, please.
All right. Did you have anything you wanted to add from it, or?
I think you guys hit all the main points that I would say. I just think that continual learning together is just irreplaceable. And I think it makes us stronger as a group. So I would echo that.
All right. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?